Good afternoon. Welcome to our Friday live at 5 with a bit of Magenta Madness today. So I hope everybody is well. My name's Jenny McCormack. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator and I'm based in the market town of Brackley in the UK. If you followed me yesterday, you will have seen I did 2 cards using the split negative technique as shown by Gail Ellis. Gail is another Stampin' Up demonstrator, and the ones we did yesterday were these 2 here. Let's move these out of the way for the moment. Using Night of Navy and Whisper White, and we had a combination, so I'll show you again how we did it, but basically you stamp twice, one onto the blue, once onto the white, and then you put them together and chop them up and then put them back together afterwards. So I'm going to do this again. Hi Jeanette. Yeah, it's a lovely colour, Magenta Madness, isn't it? So what I thought I would do is step this up a little bit. So this white layer is white heat embossed on the navy to make it stand out. So what I wanted to do was make it a little bit brighter. Oh, hi Christine, and hi Lynn. So this is my variation. So this is using Magenta Madness. So what I've done is I've got Magenta Madness card here with white heat embossing, and I've got white card with Magenta Madness ink. I've added a little bow of Magenta Madness around it, but as yet I haven't yet put a sentiment on it. This panel was then cut out with one of the Ornate frames dies, which has got this really pretty edge to it. So I put it all together here and then cut that layer out and then laid it onto a piece of basic black. Yes, it would actually be nice wedding colours, wedding invitations. This one is actually exactly the same. So this was my opposite side, but I've cut this out with our stitched rectangle dies and fixed this onto our standard note cards and envelope, and the stitched rectangles are perfect size for that. So what I'm going to do is recreate this one here, and I do have a brand new product to share with you, which I will do after the main part of the demonstration. I do have to extract my cat before he jumps up, so bear with me 1 second, because with heat guns and embossing powder it's not a good look. Yeah, not impressed. Sorry about that. Now I would recommend that you use a Stamparatus for this technique. If you didn't see us yesterday, oh thanks Marie, then I will go through the technique again. Obviously you can watch the one from yesterday anyway. Just going to make sure my stamp is clean. So the trick with this is it's really quite simple. I say this a trick, but it really is quite simple. The trick is to start with the 2 pieces of card that you're going to stamp on and to make sure they are the same size. Okay, give or take a millimetre here or there. Because what we're going to do is use the Stamparatus, and I've just added this sort of corner in here so I know that the card is going to be in the same place every time, and also it means I don't have to go right up to the edges. So what we're going to do is basically stamp on the white, stamp on the magenta and know that they will be in exactly the same position, if that makes some sense. So I'm going to do that fairly quickly. And let me get that going. So I'm going to do this one first. This is heat embossed, as you can see here, for the panel. You could actually do this in a darker pink if you wanted to. So if you don't have heat embossing and you don't necessarily like the white, there's nothing wrong with you using an alternative colour for that purpose. But I do like the white look about it. So I'm just going to use my embossing buddy on the pink layer. Now I am going to cut this down, but I just started with 2 sort of full-size card blanks really to start with. Just going to pop that magnet on the end there, and I'm going to ink this up with Versamark. So this is my Versamark. Look at the state of that. I do refill it, which is why it still works perfectly, but it's just getting a bit battered around. But I had this a good few years. So I've inked that up, and I'm going to pop it onto my Magenta Madness piece of card. This would look lovely actually in Just Jade as well, or Misty Moonlight. And I'm actually going to ink this up twice, just so I've got a nice amount of coverage. And this is another benefit obviously of using the Stamparatus, is that you can either fill in any gaps or just make sure you've got a really good amount of coverage, like so. There we go. So I think you can probably see that on there. So I'm just going to get my embossing powder. Let me reach across and find it. So this is white. There we go. So I'm just going to sprinkle that over the image that I've just stamped, like so. Just going to flick that over my container, just to get rid of any loose little bits of white powder. It's not particularly critical with this. I think if you had a black card for that layer, then you'd want to be a little bit more careful. So I'm just going to cover up my Versamark and just heat set that. So I'm just going to let the heat gun warm up slightly, just move it away from the microphone. So I hope everybody is well and that you've got something planned for the weekend, I hope. Okay, so that's nice and hot. I'm just going to bring this in from one side and heat it up. And you'll see, hopefully at the angle that I've got it, the embossing powder beginning to melt. And just work your way steadily across the whole pattern. As I said, you could do this with just a darker colour ink. You don't necessarily have to go for heat embossing. There we go. Okay, so there's my white on Magenta Madness layer. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my white card and stamp in Magenta Madness ink. Grab my Stamparatus back. And I haven't got much space between here and there. So popping this white card back in, looking for my Magenta Madness ink, which is right in front of me, and then inking this up with Magenta Madness and placing that onto the white card like so. Okay, so I've got a little bit of a gap. This might be because it was still a little bit wet with Versamark, so I'll just stamp it again. There we go, nice and crisp. So this stamp is from the Ornate Style stamp set. This was one of the very first class in a boxes that I did back in April. There we go, that will do for now. So all I'm going to do is stack these two pieces of cards together, because I know that they should be roughly in the same place, those two images, because I didn't move them from the Stamparatus. And then I'm going to cut these down approximately down the middle. You could do this at an angle as well. Quite tempted. Shall I be brave? Cut it at an angle. Let's give it a go. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, eh? So what I'm going to do is actually cut it corner to corner, like so. Okay, and I would recommend that you cut both together if you can. Now obviously if the pieces are the same, then you know you shouldn't have a problem, but I do like to cut them together if I can. There we go. Oops. Okay, so all being well, we've now got this panel here that fits together, and this panel here that will fit together. Now because I cut them, the pieces the same, and I cut them at the same time, it should be accurate, but it doesn't matter if it's slightly out here, for example, because you can trim this piece down, and that's why I recommend you start with a bigger piece than you need to finish with and then you can trim it down accordingly. Now I'm actually going to cut it on the die cutting machine rather than just cut the layer. So my recommendation for putting these together is to grab a spare piece of card. Let's see if I've got a piece here. This one will do. That's the length of the section that you need to cut out. Let me just trim this down. I can just do it with some scissors. This bit is going to be hidden anyway. This is actually thick Whisper white card. I would probably do it on thin, but it's here to hand. I might as well do two while I'm at it. There we go. So I'm going to put these two together. Let me just see if there's any other comments. Oh, lots of comments. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I do like Night of Navy. Okay, all right. So what I'm going to do is turn this over and run some glue along here and put my piece of spare card on the back. So you could use snail or seal, whichever one you have. Just going to run that along there and stick this piece on like so, like that, and then you've got something to attach this piece to directly. So then what I do is put a line of glue on this side. I just find this the easiest way to get them lined up without trying to do it in the air or anything. Slide this down until it matches and then push it onto the backing piece. So if I turn that over, you'll see that's the piece there. Okay, I'm not worried about this edge pieces, going to trim this all down, so I'm going to do the same with this one. So the good thing about this obviously is you get 2 cards for every one, because you've actually stamped it twice. And it looks quite nice at a diagonal, I have to say. Okay, so just pop that on there. As I say, just a scrap of card. I've used thick Whisper White because it happened to be there. Pop that on, and then again you can slide it against that just to get it completely lined up. There we go. So there's our 2 panels, and obviously they work either way depending on which way this image should be, and in my mind this image is the correct way, like this, with the leaves going up towards the top and out to the right. Okay, so what I've got is I've got a Whisper White note card, I've got a piece of basic black that I've already cut out with the rectangle framelets, and then I've got hopefully this one, just slightly smaller. Yeah, I put a post-it note round so I knew which one it was. So all I'm going to do is pop this through the machine, leaving everything on the back and just cutting that in one go. So I've got my stamping, cut and emboss machine right next to me. I won't lift it up, but basically if I put it on the plate so you can see, I'm just going to pop that on there so it's centralised. Pop my other plate on top, like so, and then pop it through the machine. So dark today, it's unbelievable. It's been raining on and off here all day. I don't know what it's been like for anybody else. There we go. So just peeling that away. If you find with these stitched rectangles that you find it hard to separate it, use a bone folder to run along the inside, because these are actually quite sharp to touch, and I don't want anybody getting their fingers hurt. So obviously it's a bit thicker here where I've got that extra card, so I'm just going to prise that up out. Just going through a few layers. You could even use that as a frame, apart from the fact I've just pulled it off there. That'd be quite a funky frame. Put that onto one side, and so here we go. This is going to go onto that layer, and I am going to add a little bit of matching Magenta Madness ribbon, of course. So what I'm going to do is just wrap it around at the bottom. So I'm going to put some of my seal down either side, and I'll put some in the middle. Just wrap this a little bit there. Didn't need quite as much as that, did I? Let me just centralise that a bit better. Sorry. Like so. There we go. And that's going to go onto my basic black layer that I've already cut out, just to save some time. Like so. and that is going to go onto my white note card. Oops. Oh, thought that was coming towards the end, but obviously not. Okay, so that's going to go onto my white note card. There's a little bit of a border all the way around. Obviously you could make this a much more elaborate card, okay, but what I wanted to show you was really the technique again. So this one here, although it's exactly the same image and I've cut it obviously that way around, I've used a bigger die cut for that. Okay, let's put a little bit of a bow on the front, or a faux bow. Just tuck that underneath like that and fold it over like so. Okay, so there we are. I won't do the other one because that I'm just going to do that exactly the same. But as I say, you do end up with a nice frame. You could, if you were clever, there would be another use of that on a bigger card, is to switch the frames over. Cut this with a larger die cut so that you've got alternate frames as well, if you wanted to go extra fancy. Okay, so that's all very good and I like the card, but there's no sentiments on any of these cards. And this is where I want to show you something from the new January to June catalogue that obviously comes out in January. Now I don't tend to show a lot of things beforehand because I find it's really frustrating for people showing them things that they can't buy until January. If you do join as a demonstrator, you can actually get these in December because they'll be available on pre-order. But what I wanted to share with you is this stamp set. So it's called Many Messages and it has 23 little messages. This is actually smaller than the stamp itself. This is the size of the stamp. And what's really clever about this is a single stamp with all of those items on it. So, and it's a nice combination which I'll show you. I'll stamp them out. So thank you for being you. Happy birthday. So glad to hear of your exciting news. I've got happy anniversary. Just a card to say hello. Sending happy thoughts. Lots of really nice sentiments. So what I'm going to do is bring my Stamparatus back and stamp them out for you. Now if you struggle with sentiments, this is going to be the perfect answer and you'll see why in a minute. Okay, so just going to take my Ornate Style stamp off. I've just got a piece of card that I'm going to fit in there, and I'm just going to position my stamp somewhere in there. Really doesn't matter as long as it's covered. This is larger than a standard size of card. If you have a look, that's a standard card and it's wider than that. So don't do as I do, cut out a piece that was our standard size because it won't fit everything on it. Okay. I also didn't clean this from when I used it previously. Right, let me just wipe that down. Let me see if I have anybody else joined us recently. Excellent. Everybody's still here. Alright, so I'm going to ink this up with Magenta Madness, but obviously this could be any colour, like Early Espresso, just saying, for those of you that know me. So, I'm going to stamp that up and move that out of the way a little bit, and my fingers covered in ink. So I do recommend Stamparatus for this, but you could use one of our large blocks. That would work, of course. Okay, so yes, I'm missing a bit down here as I thought I would be. Let's ink that up a little bit more. Should be right. There we go. Just need to give it a little bit of welly. It is quite a big stamp, of course. Oh, I think I might know why. Let's look. Oh no, that will do perfectly. Okay, so now I have all of my sentiments on one sheet. So I could cut round them. I could also punch them out. If I have some small punches, I could punch these different images out. But what's really clever that Stampin' Up have thought about is that they have dies to cut these out. Not only that, it's a single die. So this one die cuts out all of those sentiments in one go. They've all got different shapes. Obviously these are different lengths. Okay. But what it means is, in one lot of stamping, one lot of die cutting, you've got 19 sentiments and 4 little images, tiny little stars. Now what I found the easiest is to actually line up the stars, and then you know that the other sentiments will be in line. So let me just run that through. And that then means we've got a selection of sentiments that we can choose to put onto our cards. So if you've seen that for the first time, let me know what you think. It's called Many Messages. You can buy the stamps on their own. You can also buy the die on its own, because that would still be useful. You could still stamp lots of little sentiments. But of course you can buy it together as a bundle. So I'm just going to pop that through my machine. Try not to take the light out with that. So I've got a cable running alongside. Ooh. Let me pull that out. There we go. And if I lift it up, there we have all of the sentiments die cut. Just going to put that back, so I want to photograph this actually, because it's one of those things you sort of need to see it, don't you? So excuse me while I photograph that while you're live. But what do you think? You think that's cunning? I know we did one previously with like a Christmas set. You may remember that. So the nice thing is they all come out. They're all different shapes. There we go. Oh, there's a tiny little star. Put that in the bin. So now what I can do is select from those to put onto my cards. So we've got some long, thin ones. We've got some little sort of postage stamp ones. Thank you ever so much. Looks quite sweet on there. I'm so happy to celebrate these moments with you. That would like in the middle. And of course you can mix and match these. So what I would do is you could do that, and then you could cut out a sheet of Magenta Madness so that you could put the layers together if you wanted to. Thank you for being you. It's a nice one. So you've just got so many to choose from. Be strong, be brave, you've got this. That's really nice too. So there we go. So this is coming up. There's a nice happy birthday here that would work on there. So let's pop a couple of sentiments on here and then we're done. So I hope you like that, called Many Messages. Alright, so I'm thinking just a card to say hello would look nice in the centre of that. Let me grab some dimensionals. So if you subscribe to any of my class in a box, I can't send out stamped images, but you might end up with a whole bunch of these in your packs for additional sentiments that you could stamp onto. So just a card to say hello. Pop that in the middle, like that. Here's my split one across the side that we did today. Hooray, it's your birthday. Up at the top, I think. And these long thin ones are really nice. So we've got thinking of you with sympathy and prayers, sending a smile your way, your kindness means more than you could ever imagine. So there's those two. These would also be good if you sold cards at craft fair when we have those again, because you could have a whole set of these and then just pop these onto people's cards. There's a happy anniversary one. I might have sending a smile your way. Or just wanted to say, yeah, just wanted to say. And that's it. That's what I wanted to show you today. So I hope you like the split negative technique, and I hope you will give it a go. I think it was Molly who said that she'd tried it and she was pleased with it. She messaged me. So it's just really effective. So the idea's been around for a while, but I caught the tutorial by Gail Ellis. You can look her up. I did put the link on my Facebook page earlier to see how she did it, because she did some other variations. But I wanted to share these with you as well because I just thought they're so sweet. Sending happy thoughts. So there we are. A bit of Magenta Madness. Very bright for a Friday. Slightly more subtle but no less stunning was the ones we did yesterday in Night of Navy and Whisper White. So there we go. Just a reminder, if you hadn't seen my Facebook message or received my email, that we do have a sale on next Tuesday, 24th of November. It's a one-day sale. The majority of our stamps, inks, papers, dies, coloured card are all in the sale. There's one or two exceptions of punches, but the other standard size punches are all in the sale at 10% off. There is a list of exceptions which I've included on my email, so if you want to have a look at that, just let me know. You can place an order on the day and that discount will come up if you put it online, or you can email me beforehand and I'm more than happy to pop that in for you on Tuesday. So there we go. I've got a team meeting with my lovely team members this evening, and we've also got a crafting session tomorrow afternoon. So once a month we try and have an open crafting session where we just sit and natter and put the world to rights while we're crafting or tidying our craft room. So fairly busy weekend for me. So I hope everybody stays well. I hope you like what we've done today. If you do, then you can follow me just by clicking on the follow and get notifications if you're not already following me, or you can find me on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let me just see if there's any question. Oh yes, thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Christine. Really nice comments from you, thank you. And it is genius, absolute genius. So thank you so much. That is all for me for today. I hope you keep well, stay safe, keep dry perhaps this weekend, and I look forward to crafting with you again really soon. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care now. Bye bye.